The Galactic Concord had never agreed on anything in its 12 million years of history. Empires rose and fell, species exterminated rivals over ancient grudges, and entire star clusters burned because diplomats chose pride over peace. Yet when the subject of humanity appeared before the High Council, every representative voted the same way for the first time in recorded history. Earth had become too dangerous. The humans were unpredictable, impossible to intimidate, and worst of all, they kept winning wars they had no logical chance of surviving. Their fleets were smaller, their population was lower than the great hive civilizations, and their economy was insignificant compared to the merchant dynasties. Still, wherever humans fought, impossible victories followed. To end the growing threat forever, every alien empire signed the Pact of Final Unity. More than 400 civilizations contributed ships, soldiers, and weapons. It became the largest military alliance the galaxy had ever witnessed. Nearly 8 million warships gathered along the borders of human space, stretching across dozens of star systems like a wall of steel. The commanders celebrated before the first shot was even fired. They believed numbers alone guaranteed victory. They believed humanity would surrender the moment it saw the impossible armada approaching. They had forgotten the oldest lesson in warfare: never corner a species that has survived by turning impossible situations into opportunities. On Earth, alarms echoed beneath the Himalayan defense complex, where the United Systems Command watched the alien fleets advance across hundreds of holographic displays. Admiral Elena Ward stood silently while officers reported increasingly hopeless odds. Every projection ended with the same conclusion. Conventional battle meant extinction. One nervous lieutenant finally broke the silence. "Admiral, there is no scenario where we win." Elena smiled, not because the situation was good, but because she had heard those exact words before every major human victory. "Correct," she replied. "If we fight their war." She tapped a command into the tactical display, and suddenly every map changed. Hidden routes, dormant stations, civilian shipping lanes, abandoned colonies, and classified military installations appeared. "We don't fight fair," she said calmly. "We never have." The alien alliance crossed into human territory expecting glorious fleet engagements. Instead, they found empty systems. Colonies had vanished. Shipyards were abandoned. Even military bases had been evacuated. The invaders laughed, believing humanity had fled in terror. They occupied world after world without resistance, broadcasting triumphant messages across the galaxy. But every victory cost them supplies. Every occupied system required thousands of ships to defend. Convoys stretched across light years, guarded by exhausted escorts. Then the attacks began. It started with a single cargo convoy disappearing near the Red Nebula. No distress signal. No debris. Investigators concluded it was a navigation accident. 2 days later another convoy vanished. Then another. Soon entire logistics fleets disappeared without explanation. The Alliance deployed investigation squadrons, but they too vanished. Fear quietly replaced confidence. Somewhere in the darkness, humans were hunting them. The truth was hidden inside the asteroid belts of forgotten systems. Human engineers had spent decades converting mining colonies into invisible fortresses. Every asteroid concealed railguns, missile silos, stealth drones, and quantum communication relays. Civilian freighters transformed into warships within minutes. Merchant captains became naval officers overnight. Every miner, scientist, and transport pilot had trained for this exact scenario since childhood. Humanity's military was not limited to its navy. Humanity itself was the military. Captain Marcus Hale commanded the stealth carrier Resolute, a vessel that never appeared on any public registry. It carried no identifying marks, no diplomatic codes, and no conventional weapons visible from the outside. Instead, its strength lay in invisibility. Advanced gravitic cloaks allowed it to drift within kilometers of enemy fleets without detection. Each night, hundreds of autonomous strike drones emerged from hidden launch bays, silently targeting fuel depots, communication arrays, and command vessels. They rarely destroyed battleships. They destroyed coordination. Confused fleets became isolated fleets, and isolated fleets became easy prey. Weeks passed. The Alliance still controlled more territory than humanity, but the numbers told a different story. Supplies dropped below critical levels. Morale collapsed. Admirals argued over disappearing fleets. Entire sectors lost communication. Human propaganda hijacked alien broadcasts, filling command channels with sarcastic messages. "You brought the galaxy. We brought a plan." Then came the greatest deception. Human intelligence intentionally leaked coordinates for the so-called Last Defense Fleet, supposedly protecting Earth itself. Confident that victory was finally within reach, nearly 3 million alien warships converged on the location. They found exactly what they expected: hundreds of aging human cruisers waiting in formation. The alien commanders ordered an immediate assault. The human fleet did not fire. Instead, every ship activated synchronized hyperspace drives at the exact same moment. The resulting gravitational distortion tore open a temporary quantum rupture that disabled navigation systems across the entire alien armada. For 8 catastrophic minutes, millions of enemy ships were blind, drifting, and unable to communicate. That was all the time humanity needed. From every direction, hidden human fleets emerged, from inside gas giants, beneath frozen oceans, within hollow moons, and from stealth stations disguised as comets. Thousands of railgun slugs accelerated to fractions of light speed while swarms of autonomous drones flooded the battlefield like a metallic storm. The largest fleet in galactic history suddenly found itself surrounded by an enemy it had believed was running away. The aliens had united against Earth. Only now did they understand the mistake they had made. They had forced every human being to fight together. And humans had never fought fair. The first wave lasted only 11 minutes, but its consequences echoed across the galaxy for generations. Millions of alien ships emerged from the quantum disruption damaged, isolated, and unable to distinguish friend from foe. Human electronic warfare had rewritten identification protocols moments before the rupture, causing Allied vessels to appear as hostile contacts. Automated defense systems opened fire. Nervous captains reacted instinctively. Entire formations dissolved into chaos as battleships exchanged devastating broadsides with their own escorts. By the time communication networks were restored, thousands of vessels had already destroyed one another. Hidden among the confusion, Captain Marcus Hale's strike group slipped through the battlefield like ghosts, marking command ships for precision attacks rather than wasting ammunition on ordinary warships. Human doctrine had never been about destroying armies, it was about removing the minds that directed them. One after another, admirals vanished in blinding flashes as hypervelocity projectiles pierced shields that had been designed to stop energy weapons, not tungsten slugs traveling at impossible speeds. Every command ship that fell left another section of the alien alliance leaderless. Deep beneath Earth's surface, the Strategic Intelligence Nexus watched the battle unfold. Massive holographic displays tracked every enemy movement, updating billions of calculations every second. Admiral Elena Ward remained remarkably calm while her officers celebrated the unexpected success. She silenced them with a single sentence. "The first victory is always the easiest," she warned. "Now they'll start thinking." She was right. Within hours, surviving alien commanders abandoned their pride and reorganized. Fresh fleets poured in from the outer sectors, replacing losses with terrifying speed. The Alliance still possessed overwhelming numerical superiority. Humanity had won the opening engagement, but the war had only begun. Meanwhile, across occupied human colonies, ordinary citizens began their own campaign. Farmers who had surrendered their equipment months earlier unearthed hidden weapon caches beneath their fields. Factory workers converted industrial robots into autonomous combat machines overnight. School teachers became resistance coordinators, using educational satellite networks to relay encrypted battlefield intelligence. Hospital staff smuggled wounded soldiers through underground transit tunnels built centuries before for disaster evacuation. The invaders slowly realized they had not conquered human worlds, they had merely stepped into an enormous trap. Every occupied city became hostile territory. Every civilian could be an engineer capable of disabling a fusion reactor or a sniper waiting from the shadows. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been its fleet. It was the willingness of ordinary people to adapt. The Alliance responded with harsher occupation policies, believing fear would break human resistance. Entire districts were placed under martial law. Curfews spread across hundreds of colonies. Public executions were broadcast to discourage rebellion. Instead, recruitment into the resistance tripled. Every act of oppression created 10 new volunteers. Human commanders encouraged patience. Don't seek revenge, they instructed. Seek results. Bridges collapsed beneath armored columns. Supply depots exploded without warning. Communications towers transmitted false coordinates that sent enemy reinforcements to empty systems while real battles raged elsewhere. The aliens possessed superior firepower, but they could never predict what humans would improvise next. Far beyond the front lines, an ancient mining station drifted unnoticed inside a dead star system. To alien sensors it appeared abandoned, little more than a collection of rusting platforms orbiting a cold dwarf star. Hidden beneath kilometers of reinforced rock, however, engineers worked around the clock on Project Atlas, the greatest secret in human history. For nearly 80 years, scientists had quietly transformed thousands of civilian asteroid miners into automated shipbuilders. Every metallic asteroid harvested over the previous century had supplied the project. Gigantic assembly arrays stretched through the darkness, constructing warships without crews, without lights, and without any detectable emissions. Millions of dormant drones floated silently nearby, waiting for one command. That command finally arrived. Across the hidden shipyard, crimson warning lights illuminated endless hangars. Artificial intelligences awakened one by one, verifying targeting data and assigning missions. Gigantic blast doors opened for the first time in decades. Battleships longer than cities drifted into space alongside carriers capable of deploying hundreds of stealth corvettes. Swarms of autonomous escorts emerged in perfect formation until the darkness itself seemed to move. Humanity had never tried to match the galaxy's largest fleet. Instead, they had built an entirely new one in secret. Back at the Galactic Concord, panic spread faster than any official report could contain. Representatives who had once celebrated humanity's inevitable defeat now demanded explanations. Supply shortages crippled frontline operations. Merchant guilds refused to enter contested systems after losing thousands of cargo convoys. Insurance markets collapsed. Entire economies depended on trade routes that humans now controlled through constant ambushes. The Alliance had expected a quick conquest. Instead, it found itself fighting a war that grew more expensive every single day. Then humanity struck at something no one expected. Not a fleet. Not a planet. Trust. Using captured communication satellites and expertly forged diplomatic credentials, human intelligence transmitted convincing evidence that several member empires had secretly negotiated separate peace agreements. Fabricated orders redirected fleets away from critical battles. Counterfeit messages accused allies of hoarding supplies. Ancient rivalries that had been temporarily forgotten during the invasion returned with explosive force. Suspicion spread like a plague. Admirals questioned every command they received. Governments accused one another of betrayal. In several sectors, Allied fleets refused to support each other altogether. Watching the reports, Admiral Elena Ward finally allowed herself a faint smile. They united against Earth, she said quietly. But they forgot something. It takes centuries to build an alliance. And only one good lie to destroy it. As distrust consumed the greatest coalition the galaxy had ever assembled, humanity prepared to launch the next phase of the war, not to survive, but to ensure that no empire would ever again believe Earth could be defeated by fighting fair. The collapse did not begin with an explosion. It began with silence. Across the front lines, entire alien fleets stopped responding to one another. Admirals delayed attacks, waiting for confirmations that never came. Supply convoys remained docked because no captain trusted the orders arriving through compromised communication networks. Fuel reserves dwindled. Ammunition stockpiles sat on the wrong side of collapsing front lines. For the first time since the Pact of Final Unity had been signed, the United Armada no longer moved as one unstoppable force. It had become thousands of suspicious fragments, each wondering whether the fleet beside it was still an ally. Humanity had not defeated the Alliance's weapons. Humanity had defeated its confidence. Admiral Elena Ward knew hesitation was the most valuable resource in war. Now, she ordered. The single word echoed through every hidden command center across human space. Billions of encrypted transmitters awakened simultaneously. Every resistance cell, every concealed fleet, every stealth satellite, every autonomous drone, and every civilian volunteer received the same message. Operation Wildfire had begun. Across hundreds of occupied worlds, power grids failed at the exact same second. Human engineers had secretly infected alien infrastructure months earlier with dormant code disguised as routine maintenance software. Defensive shield generators shut down. Orbital elevators locked in place. Automated factories began manufacturing replacement parts that intentionally failed after a few hours of use. Alien logistics officers watched helplessly as their own infrastructure collapsed without a single human soldier in sight. Then the skies changed. From behind gas giants, inside comet tails, beneath the rings of frozen planets, and from artificial moons that had masqueraded as lifeless rocks for decades, the hidden fleet of Project Atlas finally emerged. At first, alien sensors reported glitches. Then they reported impossible numbers. Hundreds of contacts became thousands. Thousands became hundreds of thousands. The tactical displays simply stopped counting. The galaxy stared in disbelief. Humanity had not spent decades preparing for victory. Humanity had spent decades preparing for the day it stood completely alone. The Atlas fleet stretched across entire star systems. Massive dreadnoughts surrounded by clouds of autonomous escorts advanced in disciplined formations while carriers released millions of intelligent drones that formed living constellations across space. Every vessel had been constructed in absolute secrecy, powered down until this single moment. Entire generations of human workers had mined asteroids, refined alloys, and assembled components without ever knowing the true scale of the project. Every sacrifice, every tax, every civilian infrastructure investment had secretly contributed to the fleet now appearing before a horrified galaxy. Panic erupted inside the Galactic Concorde. This is impossible. Our intelligence never detected them. Where did these ships come from? An elderly strategist from a minor civilization answered quietly. They were never hiding from our scanners. They were hiding from our assumptions. No one spoke after that. Captain Marcus Hale stood on the bridge of the Resolute as the Atlas fleet advanced. His display showed thousands of enemy formations attempting to regroup. Under normal circumstances, humanity would have launched a direct assault. Instead, Marcus smiled. Phase 2, he ordered. The fleet divided. Alien commanders expected one massive attack. Instead, thousands of independent human task forces scattered in every direction. Some targeted shipyards. Others liberated occupied colonies. Others intercepted supply convoys. Others simply vanished into hyperspace to appear somewhere entirely unexpected days later. There was no single battlefield. Every battlefield became a human battlefield. The Alliance's numerical advantage became meaningless. A fleet of 10,000 ships could only defend one system at a time. Humanity attacked 10,000 systems. Within weeks, worlds that had flown alien occupation banners raised the blue and white flag of Earth once again. Human civilians greeted returning soldiers not as conquerors, but as neighbors who had finally come home. Resistance fighters emerged from underground cities. Farmers reopened fields that had concealed missile batteries. Children painted over alien propaganda with symbols of freedom. The invaders had conquered planets. They had never conquered the people. Realizing the war was slipping away, the surviving alien emperors made one final decision. If Earth could not be defeated, it would be erased. Every surviving superweapon, every stellar cannon, every planet-cracking device ever built by the Alliance was redirected toward the Sol system. Thousands of colossal weapons charged simultaneously, enough firepower to reduce Earth, Mars, Luna, and every inhabited world in the system to drifting ash. The countdown began. Across the galaxy, billions watched live transmissions, believing they were about to witness the extinction of humanity. On Earth, there was no panic. No riots. No desperate evacuations. People simply looked toward the sky. Because humanity had expected this. Long before the war had begun, scientists had completed humanity's greatest engineering achievement, not a weapon, but a shield. Hidden within the sun itself. As the alien superweapons fired, beams of unimaginable energy crossed interstellar space, converging on the solar system. Seconds before impact, the sun brightened. Then it roared. Ancient structures buried beneath the star's plasma awakened after centuries of silence. Rings of impossible energy unfolded around the sun, forming a colossal gravitational lattice that surrounded the entire solar system. Every incoming beam bent harmlessly around the planets, curving into deep space before dissipating among distant stars. The attack that was supposed to end humanity instead became the greatest light show the galaxy had ever seen. Silence filled every command bridge in the alien alliance. One emperor whispered the question every survivor was thinking. What else have the humans been hiding? Admiral Elena Ward looked at the tactical display as the last enemy superweapon fell silent. Then she gave the order history would remember forever. Enough surviving. It's time for humanity to win.